Yeah, that's wonderful. And so moving forward a little bit, you were recently a recipient of the Gurena Fellowship, is that right?
Yes.
From the Meadowmount School of Music. When did you first start going to Meadowmount, and how do you think your summers spent there helped shape your work and life as a musician?
Oh wow, okay. So that's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I started going there in 2010 when I was 13, and I've been there for many summers.
Yeah.
But actually, I think in general, Meadowmount has just really strengthened me, and it's been a place where I think it's pretty safe to say I would call it my second home, my summer home.
Yeah.
Meadowmount, as I'm sure you've heard, the conditions are pretty rough.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi, actually, when I first started going, there was no Wi-Fi even.
Oh.
Now there's Wi-Fi on campus, but there was no Wi-Fi.
Okay. Less distractions back
even less distraction.
Yeah.
I mean, even still, it's hard to be distracted because there's really nothing there.
Yeah.
There are not that many restaurants. There are not many activities. I mean, Meadowmount, of course, creates activities, but just in terms of the location, you're really in this pastoral, very scenic Adirondack mountain. So it really gives you the space to focus and practice, which was, I guess, the purpose of Meadowmount. But, I think just growing up in the suburbs of the East Coast, and I think going to Meadowmount at first, it was really tough because the conditions are not easy, especially when you're younger.
Right.
And I think it really just gave me the space to think solely about music. And it gave me the time to really grow cellistically and become more efficient and proficient with my craft. So it really, I felt like Meadowmount was where I really grew to become so comfortable with the instrument. And it made me love it even more, honestly, just because I had the time to really delve into the instrument so deeply.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing experience in that sense, but it was tough. It definitely, I feel like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I really lived through that for many summers.
Yeah.
So.
When, for those that might not know, talk to us about a typical day for a student at Meadowmount.
Oh, okay. So it was a little different for me, actually, because I was off campus.
Sure.
But for those who are on campus, you practice from 8:30 to 12:30 with 10-minute breaks each hour. And then you have, of course, chamber rehearsals, lessons, and then another hour of practice from 5 to 6. And these 5 hours of practice are mandatory.
Yeah.
And they take away your devices. And, actually being off campus, it was not much different. If anything, it was actually more. Because I was really isolated. I didn't even get to socialize that much.
Sure.
So it was a lot of practicing. And it was very regimented, and Meadowmount was very strict about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess that's why you improve so much. There is that saying for Meadowmount that what you get done in those 7 weeks is what you would get done during the year, like entirely.
Yeah.
So that's how much you really grow in one summer at Meadowmount.
Very condensed, like accelerated work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and so when you were off campus, was it still like, did they make you come to the school at a certain time and you had to still like practice, or how did that work?
No, I mainly just practiced at home, and then I would come to school for lessons and for concerts.
Okay. So they trusted you to practice on your own. Well, which I'm sure you did. So.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. They kind of expect that you would be practicing at home.
Interesting.
But you would think that off campus the conditions are much better, but they're actually not. So I still experienced a lot of bugs, and
was it pretty humid?
It was very humid. Yeah. And during that time of year, it gets really humid, very hot. There's no AC.
Yeah.
So I survived on fans.
Yeah.
Honestly, looking back, I'm not sure how I did it because like now I don't know if I could do the same. It's quite difficult.
Yeah, and then how regular were the student concerts that they held for the students to perform?
It's quite frequent actually. It's Sunday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
Of every week.
Okay.
And actually recently they started also adding concerts on Thursday.
Okay.
For faculty.
Wow. Okay.
And which is great because it gives some students actually opportunities to play chamber music with faculty members.
Yeah.
So that's been a great addition for the summer.
Yeah. Well, and I know Meadowmount in recent years has had the violin channel live streaming a lot of their concerts. So I'm sure that's even more motivation if they needed to practice for the students.
Definitely. And I think it brings more awareness of all the amazing things that Meadowmount is doing to the public. Because I feel like without it, it's quite isolated actually. So it's great that Meadowmount is being featured on the violin channel.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even in like the Wayback Machine, like of the early 2010s or before, like I remember YouTube or Meadowmount would post on YouTube like students' performances, and it was like VHS quality level in terms of the but I mean, it was just like some of the most incredible playing, and so I'm sure for you being there in person and like seeing that on a regular basis probably further helped develop your musicianship. And,
definitely.